Hello there, it's your friend Phil here, project management trainer and coach. I got a question in from one of our students about the 4Ds of project management. So let's take a look at the 4Ds. 4Ds of project management are define, design, do, deliver. Now, taking a look at this, it sounds familiar and looks familiar with what you know from the world of the PMI. But there's also a breakdown of the 4Ds that has two alternative words. So let's take a look at those. Sometimes you may see it as define, design, develop, deploy. Now, what is the difference between this and what you know from the world of the PMI? Let's take a look and compare and contrast. So this is what you know from the world of the PMI. I prefer extra money in cash, or I prefer eating mangoes chilled, which is initiate, plan, execute, monitor, and control, and close. So if you put these next to each other, what you have is here, you have a project life cycle. This right here, we refer to this as a project life cycle. And a project life cycle includes the work that has to be done to accomplish the project's outcome. In other words, get the deliverable created. This one, on the other hand, with the PMI, where we have initiate, plan, execute, monitor and control, and close, this is known as the project management life cycle. So what is the difference between a project lifecycle and a project management lifecycle? A project lifecycle manages the work, manages the tasks. Okay? So these, whether you go with define, design, do, deliver, or define, design, develop, deploy, these are the things you need to do what is required on the project. I need to define my technical tasks. I need to define what the problem is. I need to define what I'm really trying to solve, if you will. You can think of it like defining the root cause. You could think of it like identifying the need, business need. Okay, so there could be some technicalities involved there. Then you need to design what the solution should look like. It could be a technical solution, it could be a business solution, it could be a functional sort of solution, but you design what that solution will look like. After your design has been confirmed to be good, then you do what you've designed. You develop the system. So I've got do and develop on the same line there. And as you do and develop, the work gets done and you get to the point where you deliver, or you could say deploy. So these are project life cycles. This is what you need to do from a technical perspective to get the work done, to get the project done. Now, at the same time this is going on, you should also have a project management life cycle going on at the same time as a layer on top of the 4Ds. So the first D is define. Define the problem. What's the problem statement? What's the business case? We could map that to the earlier stages of initiating. Then there are things that need to be planned out as far as milestones, as far as certain deadlines that should happen. So when we get specific with schedule and scope and cost, you can see those are not necessarily included here, but those would fall under planning. And planning is an iterative thing, so you could come out with a deliverable and replan, and come out with a revision and maybe have to replan again. So initiate and plan map to define. Execute maps back to design, develop. Monitor and control is lacking in this model, in that it is taken for granted that whoever is following the 4Ds will inherently put in some measures and controls, but it doesn't always follow. So that would be an opportunity to complement what is done here. So define, design, develop. You could argue that doing development you are checking, but we don't want to take that for granted. There should be a separate accountability factor for monitoring and controlling the variables on the project. And last but not least, deliver and deploy, which map back to close. So in the event of not having a separate step for monitoring and controlling, I would lump monitoring and controlling up with what we have for here. So design, develop, let's lump monitoring and controlling into this category. Okay? And then closing is deploy, as straightforward as that. I hope that helps you understand the difference between a project lifecycle versus a project management lifecycle. This is also known as the project management process groups in the PMBOK guide. Okay? And just remember that as you proceed, these are done in parallel. You've got a layer of project lifecycle and you've got another concurrent layer of project management lifecycle functions. So as you're doing the work in the project lifecycle, you are managing the work in the project management lifecycle. I hope this makes sense to you, and if you've got any questions, let me know. Bye for now.